Well, it's Punters Inside Run. We're back for 2024. I'm Matthew Campbell. I'm joined by Mick, Sharkie. Shark, how are you, mate? We had a bit of fun up at the Gold Coast. We talked about that. But this is when racing kicks off for the autumn.
Yeah, it's all happening, isn't it, Matty? Back into it. January Australia Day sort of weekend. I think that usually for me that signifies the start of the Blue Diamond series in Victoria. We've had the Magic Millions race day go by. Blue Diamond's the next big 2-year-old race, and we've got some very strong fields for that series, which kicks off at Caulfield.
All right, let's talk about Australia Day at Caulfield, also racing at Warwick Farm in Sydney. But it does kick off with the Blue Diamonds. It's our first group races of the year. Blue Diamond preview. We start with the fillies. There's a lot of guesswork involved because we haven't seen a lot of these. So let's go to the fillies first. Where did you end up?
I think of the couple that have raced, Matty, and there's only a couple, Hayasugi is without doubt the benchmark, and she's a pretty good benchmark for those coming through jump outs and trials that are on debut. She was a great run behind Bold Bastille, who's been right up the head of the markets for most of the major 2-year-old races. So I think that form's going to be pretty strong in time. So those that are kicking off need to go to a pretty decent level if they're going to win. I think there are a few here that might be of a similar grade, though. And they're all from the Anthony and Sam Freedman yard.
Yeah.
Matisse has got good speed, really nice jump outs. Mindshift doesn't have, I guess, the firepower out of the gates, but finishes really well in her heats. And She Hung the Moon might be the filly to track from this race over 1,000 metres as they get nearer to the Blue Diamond over 1,200. I think 12 to 1,400 will be her sweet spot. For the sake of a tip, Matty, I'm with Mindshift. I loved her Flemington jump out. I think she can win this.
I'll go with Matisse. You talked about that early speed. You talked about the Freedmans have a strong hand. They've got 3 runners. They put Damien Lane on Matisse. I think that's a fair pointer as well. And drawn inside might be a benefit with that speed. Might be able to get up on the pace and maybe even lead the race. But yeah, we're still guessing a bit as we go to the Colts and Geldings. Similar sort of story. What have you liked from some of these unraced runners from a trial and jump out perspective?
A couple from Sydney, actually. High Octane. Son of Deep Field, he's been very strong through the line in his trials in Sydney. Finishes off really well. Hasn't won his trials by big margins, but I think the manner of the way he's done it, the amount of ground that he's pulled off leaders in those heats has been impressive. Inner Visions, different horse, jumps straight to the front, high speed, sort of 2-year-old. He'll be really hard to catch over 1,000 metres. And then from the locals, I think a horse like Let's Face the Music might be well above average. Led and won one jump out. In his next one, he was off the speed and coasting to the line and doing it really, really well. He would be my pick in this race, just against the 2 Sydney visitors. He's around $12.
I'll go with Inner Visions. That speed you mentioned, it was a nice run. Again, hoping that the inside barrier is something that can be used up on speed and be the one they have to catch. So, and good to see there was some early support for it when the markets come out in Visions. We've got another group race on Australia Day. That's the Group 3 Manford Stakes. Steparty returns. I mean, Steparty's done nothing wrong. He's had 6 starts for 5 wins and a third in the Caulfield Guineas. Jumped out at stall to be fresh for this. Are you with or against the fave?
I'm against him here because I think he's got pretty stiff opposition from a race-fit horse, Carbonados, number 4.
Yep.
Now, if you listen to people watching the mounting yard, they were absolutely off him in droves. I think they really drove the market drift. He was a short price favourite. He ended up jumping, his SP was around $4.20 and he was out from about $2.20 or $2.30. So the mounting yard watchers were right off him and very vocal about it. Obviously, the horse can't understand what they're saying because he went out in a really impressive win. Didn't matter about
the sweat. Because he speaks German, that horse.
He is, yeah, apparently, yeah. He was very hot and sweaty before the race, but it obviously didn't bother him. He won well. Tougher contest here against the likes of Steparty, but I think he's probably up to it. I think they'll go forward, and I think with that fitness on his side, he can beat Steparty.
I'll stick with the favourite, Steparty. I see no reason to jump off now. Anything else we should be backing? Your best bet at Caulfield on Friday?
Really keen on race 7, number 2, Buffalo River. I think it's a match made in heaven, Buffalo River and Celine Gaudry. Sometimes, these horses and jockeys, they just really get on. She obviously gets on fantastically well with Buffalo River. They've got a great record together. There is no speed in this race, Matty. I think he'll jump, he'll lead, and he'll win. And in race 5, I'm with number 3, Indian Pacific, kicking off for Nick Ryan. He spent a bit of time at Leneva Park, actually, Matty, this horse. And when he left, he was
Bit of
going very,
inside
very
knowledge.
well. He's been going very well. He had a little R&R up with us and a bit of pre-training work. And I think he went to Nick Ryan in very good shape.
I'll go against you, mate. I'll stick with Katsu. As we know, Katsu's a 1,000-metre specialist, and you have to back Katsu first up or second up. 2 for 2 unbeaten, likes Caulfield. After that, you can forget about it. But yes, put a couple of kilos weight on that win first up at Flemington, but I'll go with Katsu. Warwick Farm, their main race there is the Australia Day Cup. Naval College is very short. Looks to be the winner after 2 good wins over the 2,000-metre steps up to 2,400. I don't want to take the short sort of price, but you can put it into something else. Have you got anything at Warwick Farm that we should be concerned about?
Look, I think it's an ordinary sort of
It's
program.
not a great betting.
No, Naval College, he's the bet on the day. I think we just keep it simple there. Race 6, number 2, Naval College. He's the way to go. Dipsy Doodle in the last, race 7, number 4. She's probably the other one. She's a pretty smart filly. She's first up. Look, $4.40. That's, around that range. I think I've seen earlier in the week. That's a pretty decent price, I think, to take about her.
I'll go against you, mate. I'll go with Secret Revolution, coming back off a good win at a higher level at Canberra. All right, mate, but yeah, we're not too enthused about Warwick Farm. We're more interested in what happens at Caulfield. Happy punting, mate, and we'll cover off Saturday at the Valley and Randwick. So, punters, stay tuned because we'll also have another preview of Saturday racing.
You win some, you lose more. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.